how do you know when your water breaks? I'm like, girl, you know when your water breaks. It ain't no joke. It's like, goosh. I didn't think I would just suddenly deliver a baby, right then and there in the food court. That would be crazy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Beauty News with Angela Cruz. Today is a little bit of a different video because I am introducing you to my brand new son, my baby, Cam. That is short for Cameron. And today I'm going to be telling you the birth story and how my water broke while I was shopping at the mall. True story, that really happened. Didn't it, Cam? Do you remember that? Do you remember that? I really wanted to tell this story along with my husband because it's better, but he's working and he's gone a lot because he's a flight attendant, so it's really hard to align our schedule, so I just figured I would tell the story by myself. So Cam is now 2 months old, and as you can see, he's looking around, he's more alert, he's doing very well. He has doubled his birth weight. When he was born, he was 5 pounds 7 ounces. Today he is 10 pounds and something ounces. I haven't weighed him in a couple of days, but he passed the 10-pound mark, so I'm really happy about that. Very healthy, very happy. I'm just really, I'm really thankful and grateful that he's such a great baby, and we're so blessed, So the day that my water broke, I had a very good day. I actually went to spin class, which I will link below in the description box, my blog about how I only gained 3 pounds while I was pregnant, and I was going to spin class regularly. I went and got a manicure and a pedicure. I got a prenatal massage. I drank a green smoothie in the morning for breakfast. Everything was going really well, and I had no expectation that anything like that would happen. I mean, I didn't have my hospital bag packed. We didn't have our nursery ready. Things were not ready because I was 35 weeks pregnant, so I thought, I've got 5 more weeks, and so I figured everything would be just fine. I went shopping at the mall. My husband was gone. He is a flight attendant. Let me soothe the baby. Let me soothe you. Look at you. You need a little extra attention. This is his favorite position, on the chest with the back being pat. My husband had left that morning for a trip. He's a flight attendant, which is why he's not in this video with me. I really wanted to tell this story on camera with him, but he's gone a lot for work. So when he's gone for like 3 to 6 days. So he had just landed, I think in Philadelphia. I can't remember exactly which city, but he had just landed in Philadelphia. I was at the mall in Wellington. I live in South Florida, and I was shopping at the mall in Wellington Green. So at the mall, I went shopping at Lush. I bought some bath bombs and some soaps. I went and got a mani-pedi at the mall. I got another green smoothie because that's what I was craving. So while I was in line to get that green smoothie in the food court, that's when it happened. My water broke, and I knew instantly. Sorry if that's TMI, but that's really what happened. And I was standing in line like, they were making my green smoothie. I said, you know what? I paid for it, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that green smoothie. What can I do? Wait another minute. Went ahead and got my green smoothie. I texted my husband because I wasn't sure if he was still on the airplane, because if he is, the text would be green because we both have iPhones, and so when both of our phones are turned on and he's, not in airplane mode, the text is blue. So I sent a text that said, hi. And then he was like, hey. So I knew he was off the plane. So I texted him, my water just broke. And so he was like, oh, we got to figure this out. So I called him, we talked it through. I immediately texted my neighbors and was like, hey, I'm going to the hospital. One of my neighbors here, Paula, I asked her, can you go to my house and get my stuff together and bring me a hospital bag because I have nothing. So my husband, once he had landed and, I'd spoken to him and said, hey, I'm going to the hospital, he was like, I need to figure out how to get back to Florida. So he is, in Philadelphia or wherever. He had just gotten to the hotel where he was staying that night, so he had to call a Lyft and get back to the airport and figure out how to get back to Florida. What he ended up doing was seeing a flight that came to Orlando. And so he went to the gate agent for that flight and was like, hey, I just want to see, he's very polite and was very respectful, was like, hey, I just want to check and see if there's any space left or if it's too late for this flight. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, the gate's already closed. Once the doors close, it's done. And he was like, oh, okay. Which is funny because looking back, I'm like, why didn't you tell her immediately that your wife is pregnant, her water broke? But he was just trying to be respectful and polite, whatever, okay. So the gate agent looked at him and said, what's going on? And he said, well, my wife is pregnant, her water just broke. And she said, hang on. So she went down the jet bridge and talked to the pilot. The pilot was like, open the gate, let him on. So he got on the flight. He ended up landing in Orlando, renting a car and driving to Wellington to the hospital. My neighbors came and stayed with me. One stayed until he arrived, and he got there at like like 2 or 3 a.m. You know, he had landed around midnight. So, you know, it was a crazy, like he had been up for like 26 hours straight, but he made it. So I was really grateful that he was there just because it was a huge comfort. Even though we knew we weren't going to deliver like right that second, it's like you just don't know, because they kept telling me, if you do have crazy contractions and suddenly the baby wants to come out, we've got to go into emergency surgery, because I had to have a C-section. But I was just happy that my husband was there. The mall at Wellington Green is literally across the street from Wellington Regional Medical Center, which is where I ended up delivering him. So yeah, I know, you sleepy. No, you gonna hold up? You gonna hold up? Okay. It was this uncomfortable, awkward situation where I wasn't quite sure what to do. So I sat on some bags in my car and I drove myself, and I didn't get on the main road. I didn't get on the highway or anything crazy. It was a back road, and within 30 seconds I was from the mall to the hospital. So I parked, walked in, told the nurse, you know, I told the security guard, hey, I'm pregnant, my water broke. He was like, ooh, you don't have to show me your license, just go upstairs. Because they have a security procedure that you have to show your license and get a photo or whatever. He was like, just go on, girl, just go upstairs. So I went to the maternity ward. They were like, okay, fill out this paperwork. We're gonna test you. There's a test that they have to do to make sure you really are in labor. And then I was like, you guys, I need a towel for the floor. And they were like, okay, we don't have to test you because you passed the towel test, is what they called it. So I went immediately to a room where they started checking my vitals and doing all the things that they needed to do. They called the OBGYN I had been working with. She was not available, so the alternative came, and I loved her. She was amazing. She did the whole thing from start to finish. Long story short, I stayed in the hospital for 3 days not having my baby, because since he was so early, the goal was to keep him inside me in my belly as long as possible. So they gave me a magnesium drip and an IV, which relaxed all my muscles, and it slowed down the contractions once they finally started. And they ended up keeping him in me for another 3 days. So my water broke on a Saturday, and then he was delivered on a Tuesday. So it ended up working out really well. They gave me steroid shots because they said that would help develop his lungs, because he was premature. So the concern was that his lungs would not be fully developed. While he was in my womb, he got some hiccups several times. So I thought that was a good sign, like, you know, that meant his lungs are doing well. Oh, you fell asleep. On that Tuesday, I had a C-section. It was a vertical C-section, which the recovery is worse and longer. It's more painful than a traditional C-section. I ended up taking him home that Friday. So we were in the hospital for almost a week. Cameron was breech, and the amniotic fluid was low, so I didn't have a choice. I had to have a C-section. So they said, you know, if something happens, God forbid, we'll go into emergency surgery. That ended up not happening, so thank goodness, it was great. In summary, it all worked out perfectly. I delivered him on that Friday, and everything was great. He was so healthy, 5 pounds, 7 ounces, fully developed. He has had no issues. He's, you know, doing so well. He's such a great baby. He's very sweet. He's very calm. I'm glad to be a mom. I'm surprised by how much I love being a mother, and I just think it's the biggest blessing ever. So this is my story. Thank you so much for listening to it. Comment below with your crazy maternity stories. I would love to hear it. I love connecting with other moms. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear from you. Thank you again so much for listening to my story. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.